Michael, it's a game that everybody is really looking forward to. Newcastlewest, they're the representatives from Limerick. They're playing Cashel KC.
Yeah, they certainly are, Stevie. 1:15 on Sunday in Newcastlewest. They got over the line against Gary Spillane in the Limerick Premier Intermediate Final there last Sunday in the Gaelic grounds, 2-12 to 1-11. 2 second half goals there. Hugh Flanagan and Diarmuid Kelly were supposed to winning of that game on Sunday. So yeah, look, they'll be looking forward to going in playing Cashel. Cashel have been off for 3 weeks now at this stage, so they'll be looking forward to getting back out on the field themselves. Newcastlewest, as we said, a good victory, back up in the senior ranks in Limerick for I think it actually could be for the first time, which would be a huge result for West Limerick and hurling in the west of the county. But look, I think Cashel have a real good chance since the preliminary quarter-final in Tip. They've been in real good form, and look, here's hoping that they bring that form forward to Newcastlewest Sunday.
John, when you look at this, Newcastlewest are after winning the county, fine. Doon won the county senior. Both clubs, they are now out in the Munster Club Championship. I mean, how is it going to affect Newcastlewest on this coming weekend? Because of the fact that they would have been out celebrating. So are they taking the Munster Championship serious? They'd love to, but how is it going to affect them?
Look, it all depends on the attitude of some clubs. Can take things different, and some clubs maybe are just happy to get up senior in their respective counties. You know what I mean? Because as Mike said, Newcastlewest, I think it's probably 40 or 50 years ago since Newcastlewest were senior. Definitely they were senior back in the days, but it's been a long time coming. They are a senior football club, and they won 3 in a row. They are 21, 22 and 23 before bowing out this year at the semi-final stage. So look at they're a dual club now. How it will affect them is another thing, the celebrations. But look at that's their problem, how to solve that, and if they're interested. But Cashel have 3 weeks since they got over the Tip championship. But the other thing about it was that every competition that Cashel went into this year, they collected silverware at the end of it, starting off there with the County League early on in the year, followed up with the Crossco Cup, West Championship and County Championship. So they're not there to make up numbers in any competition, and it's a good old record that they have. They definitely have the players capable of going further. I think they're probably good enough to do it, irrespective of whether it was 1 week or 2 weeks that Newcastlewest had between the winning the final and the Munster club. Because suppose look at the counties themselves that draw up their schedule for their championship, having known when the Munster Championship was going to start and all that. So look at, I don't think it's an issue, Stevie.
All right then, Michael, we're going to maybe just briefly have a look and try and preview the game. It is difficult enough to preview because with the fact that Newcastlewest, we've only seen them once, and that was in the county final, obviously against Gary Spillane. But it's hard to know what they're going to bring to this game.
Yeah, they seem to be very strong out around the middle of the field. Brian Hurley, there's 2 Hurleys playing. Brian Hurley at midfield is a real good player, probably man of the match in their county final win there at the weekend. So it'll be Cashel will really need to look after him. Hugh Flanagan, who got one of the goals on his free taker, he scored 1-6, 1-1 from play. So he that's another guy that they'll have to look after as well. But as you said, probably we don't know too much about him. Probably didn't learn a whole pile either at the weekend. It was a real wet day inside in the Gaelic grounds on Sunday. Low scoring, 2-12 to 1-11, as I said there at the start. And probably, it's very hard to get a read on the team in that regard. I suppose, as John mentioned, they're a senior football club, so I suppose strength and their ability to run off the ball is something that maybe Cashel won't have come up against in the Tipperary Championship.
Especially this time of the year as well.
And obviously that comes to the fore then at this time of the year as well. So I suppose their attributes that Cashel will have to be watching out for. But I mean, that just comes down to work rate and like their Cashel's ability to never give up on any ball or any man, make sure that they're following their players all the time. And yeah, look, I think Newcastlewest, obviously they'll be on a high after winning. I think it's a little bit unfair that they have to go out a week after, but as John said, that was the schedule. The schedule is known since before the start of the championship, and if that's what Limerick put out as their schedule, and it's happened in both codes, I suppose the fact that they didn't get to an All-Ireland final means that they were always likely to get drawn out in a quarter final. So I suppose that's where why there's only a week break. It is probably a little bit unfair, especially when you win your first title in so long, or your first title ever. Whereas for the likes of, would say, if New PIHC had won at the weekend, or Ballygunner, their thoughts are always set on winning Munster or winning an All-Ireland. Whereas when you haven't won a county in so long, winning the county is nearly the be-all and end-all. But look, that's not Cashel's problem. They just have to go out and play the game. They got their 3-week break. I presume they celebrated, and I hope they did after winning a county final for the week, but they got back down to business, and they've 2 weeks of training under their belt since, and I think they'll be raring to go. And if they bring the form they did in the latter part of the Tipperary Championship, they'll be very hard bet at the weekend.
John, TJ Connolly, I suppose he's got a headache now trying to pick the team for this coming Sunday.
He has, but look, they have more or less a settled team. Cashel have. They are coming through once they got back the players that were injured, they have more or less a settled starting 15, 16 and starting with suppose that preliminary game against Borlahan there, and they drove on from there. They nearly know the time the first changes will be made, except for an injury, and thankfully all their injuries have behind them now at this stage anyway, and he'll be picking from a full squad. But I suppose if you go back and you look at Newcastlewest there, that Limerick Championship there, it was an 8-team championship, a one-group championship. They played 7 round games, and the top 4 out of the 8 went to the semi-final. Newcastlewest, from the off there, they set the pace there, and they had qualified for the semi-final before they played round 7. Now they went down to Blackrock in round 7 there by the minimum. 3-9 to 17 points, but by that stage they had already qualified for the county semi-final. I think it was Effin they beat in the county semi-final, but they have a fella, it's Owen Hurley there. He's a guy that has registered an awful lot of scores this year for them. He's a free taker. I think there's a couple of Hurleys as well playing with him, Mike. There's one of them in the backs, and there's another fella in the forwards there.
So it's a case of cut down on the frees then?
Yeah, well that's it. You see, I suppose there's he's top there some days, 8 and 9 and 10 pints from frees, if you give away a freeze to a guy like that, you're looking for trouble, So hopefully, look at TJ Connolly will have all that sussed out and all looked into. So it's not an issue, Stevie, going into there. Cashel will play their own game. I think the game that they have been playing all the year. As I said, they have a fairly settled side now. They know, I think, and as the championship in Tip progressed, they probably found their real strength, and they've probably found, the team that they wanted in the positions that they want to have them now.
Michael, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, Stevie, and I think John has really hit the nail on the head. It's since, and I know he's mentioned it a couple of times, since Cathal Quinn came back into the fold and was probably put back into the half-back line in a position that he knows how to play, and that's,
he's a masterful hurler.
Yeah, absolutely. But I suppose it shows the importance of playing guys in positions they're comfortable with. TJ nailed down his starting 15. They have good subs to bring in. I mean, any team that's bringing Ger Brown off the bench is a huge fillet for them, and they're playing really well. I suppose if they can keep Ross Bonner in the form that he's in, and feeding him ball, and also I suppose Oisín O'Donoghue getting ball into him, and he's holding it up and bringing other guys into the play. But as John mentioned about the importance of frees, I suppose Devin Ryan is one of the best free takers in in Tipperary. So I suppose the same is true for Newcastlewest. They won't want to be giving away any frees, certainly scoreable frees in the Gaelic grounds at the weekend. And I suppose just at the back, I suppose Nathan Ryan, Kieran Dwyer and Con Bonner in the full back line have been solid enough, especially since the preliminary quarter final. And I think we're standing here outside Dwyer's pharmacy. Connor, grandson of Sean O'Dear, Connor, a guy I've really liked as a hurler growing up, and he seems to have settled now into that kind of centre back sweeping role, and really drives on. Scored a real important point in the county the county final against Carrick Swan. Came out and got a clearance off the goalkeeper, off the Swan goalkeeper inside his own 65, and from the newsstand side put it back over the crossbar, and it was a real rousing score. And if Cashel can get that out of all their players at the weekend, they'll be in a good place.
Do you think Cashel will win it?
I suppose, as you said, I wouldn't know too much about Newcastlewest, but I do like this Cashel team. I think they have become really settled in the last 4 rounds, and have found a way of playing and a settled side, and I think hopefully that will get them over the line at the weekend.
John?
Yeah, I'd agree with Mike there. Look at as the season has progressed, I think Cashel really have come into their own. And it wasn't an easy championship in Tipperary, this Premier Intermediate. You had the Church down from senior from last year. Everybody expected them to move back up. You had the Swans, who I suppose at the start of the season weren't on too many people's lips. You had Gortnahood, Glengool. You had Éire Óg and McCarthy, who really had some championship and lost out to the Church in the quarter final. A game that I think myself that they should have got more out of, but that's championship hurling. Cashel, when the whole thing came down, Cashel came out on top. They got the look of that goal there, that long range goal there in the county final from Owen Connolly to bring them back into the game. But once they got the small little opening, then they drove on. And as Mike said, they are the full back line. I think that's the most consistent line for Cashel all the year. There, it's the more settled line in it. And now with young Quinn there, half back there, it's a good solid half back line. You have Owen Connolly then around the middle of the field, but dropping back, sort of behind, sometimes even behind the half back line, and overall, young Cummins now the captain. He's gone up into the half forward line. Paddy Fahy around the middle of the field there. Fahy, I think, really pushed them on there when he came back from injury again, because they had a lull and they had a slump mid-season. But the thing about it was, a sign of a good side is they weathered that storm, and they pushed on. Now they lost the game there. They drew with what you call them. They drew with Anacarty, Éire Óg Anacarty, and I lost to Gortnahood, beat Mine Temple Tui. But then once Quinn, who had been sick, and Fahy, who had been injured, came back into it, they were sort of picking from a full deck again, and that alone strengthened their bench. Because when you have a full, if you have to bring lads replacements in before you start the game, you're weakening your bench. So Cashel have a good bench. They have been using it to telling effect there. Simon Delaney coming on there. He's got very, very important goals in this championship. Look, he wasn't needed in the county final until late on. Adrian Cummins came on and got that famous semi-final victory over the Church there, really wrapped up the game. He's a fella that has come into his own again. He got back his form there mid-season there, because we all know he's well able to hurl there. He dropped a bit of form early on in the year, but back again now, and the Cashel are in a good place going in, and I think I'd be very surprised if they didn't advance to the semi-final, Stevie.
Michael, there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Cashel forwards, there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Cashel defence as well, but more so if you look at the like of Oisin O'Donoghue, you also have Devon Ryan. You could just keep naming your full 10 to 15.
Yeah, you could, Stevie. I mean, and look, John probably mentioned it a little bit there. Like Owen Connolly drops into either the half back line or a little below it, and he either sits back or Connor sits back. But then James Cummins comes out into the middle of the field to do some work. Ushin comes out into the middle of the field to do some work, and then if they get tired, they're able to switch with the inside guys, and Ross Bonner can come out. But I suppose Devon at centre forward makes things happen. He's a very good link guy. Gets on ball, is well able to throw it around, well able to take a score as we would have seen as well. But he does make things happen probably from that centre forward role. But I think the work that James Cummins does from wing forward, I suppose he's a back by trade, and he comes back to field. But like him and Paddy Fahy kind of in that middle third, and then like John mentioned that the full back line was very settled. I think Ronan Connolly, Conor Dwyer and Cathal Quinn is a real platform that Cashel can build on, and I think it's probably their most important line, and when they are feeding ball into the forwards, it really doesn't matter what forwards you have up there, because the ball is quality coming in, and they're able to make work with it. But as you said, very dangerous, yes, Cashel from 10 to 15 certainly are. David McGrath is a guy we haven't mentioned, and he's been able to come up with goals all throughout the championship. Got 2 points there in the final, had 1-1 got in the semi-final against Upperchurch, and he's only under 19. I suppose the youth on the Cashel side is something that we have to admire as well. I think they started 4, maybe 5 under 19s in the county final, and that's only bodes very well for them in the future, regardless of what happens on Sunday or in this Munster Championship.
Michael, I would agree with you, and I would also agree with what John was saying there. So we wish Cashel the very best of luck on this coming weekend.